friends, today it's finally time for another episode of Revisiting Old Favorites. So I know a lot of you were not here a year ago, so I'm gonna do a little intro. In 2017, I started a series called Revisiting Old Favorites, where I rewatch and react to my favorites list. If you don't know, I've been on BookTube since 2013, and so, I had quite the backlist to react to, and then I did 2013, 2014, and 2015. I'm gonna leave, obviously, links to all of these in the description. I said, it's kind of too early to react to my 2016 list. I'm gonna wait to do that until end of 2018 or beginning of 2019. So here we are, and today we're gonna watch together my top books of 2016 video. And I'm just really excited. I was sad. Obviously, there's only so much you can do with this series. There's just one of these videos every year, but I really, really loved doing these. It was always so much fun to look back at these lists, and so I'm so excited that it's finally time for me to react to my 2016 list. And then I know, honestly, I feel like the time passed so fast, so it's gonna be no time until I'm gonna react to my 2017 favorites, and that's just a little bit wild. I always do, while I plug in my headphones, I always think about what I remember from this list. Now, usually I remember the top 3 or so. This time around, I don't know what my number 2 was. I'm sure I'm really gonna, when it actually happens, I'm gonna be like, oh, of course. But at the moment, I just can't think of it. Obviously, 2016 was the year that Gathering of Shadows came out and This Savage Song came out. So, Gathering of Shadows is number 1. This Savage Song is number 3. I also I'm pretty sure that First Position by Melissa Braden is number 10. Six of Crows has to be on this list. And Illuminate, which there's some interesting things on this list is what I'm saying. And even though I know a couple of ones, I don't know all of them. I don't know all the rankings, and I have some opinions. I guess we should just, dive into it and see what's gonna happen. Hi guys, today it is time to talk about my top 10 books of 2016. 2016 has been an amazing reading year for me. So my number 10 is First Position by Melissa Braden. And actually this is the first time that a book with only 4 stars made it into my top books list. I gave this book 4 stars because there was one thing happening at the end that really pissed me off. But still, when I kind of forget about that, this book was so enjoyable. If it wasn't for this thing, I think this easily could have made my top 5 of the year. This was such a wonderful book about a lesbian romance, and not only did I love the romance, but this was also about a ballet company. And since I am a ballet dancer, it was just really exciting for me because it wasn't only seeing 2 women fall in love, but it was also in a kind of environment that I know. So I think it might have just been really enjoyable for me because I could connect to it, but I just found it really enjoyable, and I don't know, this book really stayed in my mind, so it definitely has a place on this list. That was lovely, especially because First Position is a really amazing book. I think this must have been one of the very first female romances I've read. I called it lesbian romance back then, even though I'm not even sure both of the characters are lesbians, but I don't think I knew, the terms and stuff like that. So yeah, that is really interesting to me. I did really love that book. I thought it had a beautiful romance and a really wonderful setting, and it's really underrated. It is adult romance, so there's some explicit stuff going on, but if you're looking for a adult female romance, I highly recommend First Position. It was beautiful. I should really reread that, especially now that I've read so many female romances. I'm so excited that I had that on my list because I did really love that. Number 9 is Illuminate by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. I actually also read the second book, Gemina, but I don't quite feel like it has a place on this top 10. Illuminate blew me away, mostly because of its multimedia format. I thought that it was so well done, so interesting, and it really just kept me reading. I didn't want to stop reading it, and it went by so fast. The thing with Illuminate is that, first of all, in 2018 I listened to the audiobook in preparation for the final book coming out, and that just made me realize how I don't love the story. The format just really made up a lot of why I loved this story so much, but that I just don't really think that the storyline in general is really super amazing, and I just didn't really love it all that much, and I lowered my star rating to 4 stars. And then also in 2018, the final book Obsidio came out. It was a disappointment. It was a big disappointment and just made me reflect on the whole trilogy. I don't have that very often, where one book in a series will make me change my mind on the whole trilogy. But if I just think that a final book, in this case, repeats a lot of the things that have already happened in the first 2 books, if it, you know, depends on the same kinds of tropes, if I just don't really think that the trilogy as a whole brought new things with every book, then it does kind of change my overall mind on the series as well. And that is what happened for me with the Illuminae files. I don't even think it's that enjoyable anymore. That was like the number one thing for me about this trilogy. I never was really invested in the characters, but it was just such an enjoyable experience, and I don't even feel that anymore, because these things that happen in the story, I just roll my eyes because I know they're gonna pull the same shit in the second and third book. So I'm more annoyed than anything, and I just don't really think that this deserves a spot on this list anymore. Just gotta say it quite honestly. Normally in these top 10s, when I have a series, I will rank books separately, just as I did with Illuminae. Illuminae made it on my list, but Gemini didn't. This time around, I feel like this series belongs together. That has to be Six of Crows. I didn't quite have 10 books. Each of them still gets their like own rank, and that is Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo. If I read Six of Crows last year and then Crooked Kingdom this year, it wouldn't have been this far up in the list, because I definitely enjoyed Six of Crows more than I enjoyed Crooked Kingdom. But which I think is a super unpopular opinion. Most people, I think, say that they like Crooked Kingdom more than they like Six of Crows. I am hopefully rereading Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom soon, so it will be interesting to see how I feel about them then. Like if I still like Six of Crows more than I like Crooked Kingdom. But let's listen to the rest of what I have to say. Still, both of these books had wonderful moments, and there was one moment in particular in Six of Crows that made me realize this is a 5-star book for me, because it made me realize how much I love the characters and how invested I am into kind of their stories. That was 100% a Cassidy Nash moment, 100%. And I had several of these moments in Crooked Kingdom, so I do feel like they both deserve a place on this top 10. Crooked Kingdom on number 8 and Six of Crows on number 7. Okay, so I do still think they deserve their spot on this list. I almost want to say that with time, I love these even more, just because I appreciate these characters so much. And so, yeah, but this is definitely, sometimes I just really have books where I'm like, why is this on this list? I wish it wasn't on this list. With this one, I'm like, I'm so glad that they are on this list, and I just still really love these books, and I'm so excited to reread them. My number 6 is The Kingslayer by Virginia Baker. This is the second and final book in the Witch Hunter duology. Actually, kind of similar to Six of Crows. I feel like if I read both of these in the same year, I probably would have put both of them together a bit higher up on the list. The Witch Hunter made my list last year. It was number 2 on the list. I do have to say I didn't enjoy The Kingslayer as much as I did The Witch Hunter, but I guess that it is still on the list says enough about how much I enjoyed this. I still really love about this story that it is so simplistic. I think it's really easy to understand, really easy to get through, but still so interesting. I'm sad to leave these characters. I really wish we had more books in this world with these characters. My number 5 is... no spoilers. Okay, I already see what number 5 is. Oh my god, now I'm like freaking out about number 5. But let's concentrate on number 6, The Kingslayer. Now, I do feel like I probably will not enjoy The Kingslayer as much today as I enjoyed it back then. But I think for that time, for my reading tastes back then, for just... not even, I think my reading tastes are still the same, but I hadn't read as much of this kind of fantasy back then. And it was just really something that I was craving at the time and didn't really know where to find. And The Witch Hunter and The Kingslayer just were perfect. Like, they fit perfectly. I do think, especially The Kingslayer, if I were to reread it now, I probably wouldn't feel as intense about it. I think I would still like it, but I could even imagine that it's no longer a 5-star rating. And I do think that I was more excited about it than actually was while reading it. I think that because I love The Witch Hunter so much, I was really hyping up The Kingslayer more than I actually liked it, which that's just something that I'm realizing in hindsight. You know, I think back then I was really truly believing that, but I do think that I hyped it up a little bit more just because I loved the first book so much. And so yeah, I definitely still think I would really like The Kingslayer, but I'm not really sure that if I were to like redo this list today, that it would still even be on the list, if I'm honest. But we'll see. This is definitely a duology that I want to reread super soon, and I definitely still agree that I absolutely want more books in this world and with these characters. I love these characters so much. That definitely still stands, and I just still have a lot of appreciation for this series in general. I also love the author. The author was always unbelievably kind to me, and I was a much smaller booktuber back then, so I will always appreciate her and these books, and they definitely mean a whole lot to me. I'm glad it is on this list. I think it very much portrays this time, this reading time in my life, but not sure how I'd feel about it today. So let's, as I said, I already saw number 5, but by Cody Keplinger. This is a YA contemporary that really blew me away. I don't read a lot of contemporaries. I don't enjoy a lot of contemporaries. This one was so good. Also a really great diverse read, but I just really loved how well the female friendship in this one was written. It was such a great development and also such a great and realistic ending. And I really wish that this would get a lot more hype. I still agree with that so much. Run is such an underrated YA contemporary and has one of the most beautiful female friendships I have ever read about. It is so wonderful. It is so beautiful. There's some diversity in there. There's a legally blind character, which is the known voices aspect. There's a bisexual character. I really love this book. I can't believe I forgot. It's funny, definitely, how I'm saying like I don't really enjoy a lot of contemporary. I don't really read a lot of contemporary. A lot has changed since then, but this is definitely one of those contemporaries, I think, where I already got a little hint of how much I could love contemporary. Oh, I'm so glad to see Run on this list. It's so underrated. If you take one thing with you from watching this video, then it is to please read Run by Cody Keplinger, especially if you love books about female friendship. Oh my lord, it is beautiful. And number 4 is Timekeeper by Tara Sim. I just really loved so many aspects of this story. I love the romance. I love the kind of mythology behind this whole world. It was kind of actiony, but also it took its time for some things. This is only the first book in a trilogy, which has me so excited because this first book
still haven't read the sequel.
So promising. I am so excited to see where the characters are heading, what's gonna happen to the world. I would highly recommend this book if you are looking for a great like YA steampunk. It's very unique.
Oh my god. Okay, I don't talk about this a lot anymore, but this so reflects my reading of that year. And I loved this book so much. Like, I loved it so much. Like, everything I said, I could repeat it all. Like, the unique world building, the romance. Oh my god, just the characters. I'm having a lot of feels right now because I just remember how many feels I had about Timekeeper and how much I love Timekeeper. And I completely forgot that it was on this list, but oh lord, such a deserving space. And I know I'm doing this series such disservice by not having read the sequel to Timekeeper, but I am planning to do it in 2019. I want to reread Timekeeper, and then I want to read Chainbreaker and Firestarter and just marathon through the whole trilogy because I loved Timekeeper so damn much. And it's another really underrated book and series. You don't know what you're missing. You don't know what you're missing. And the romance is male-male. I didn't even mention that, but it is male-male, and it is for sure one of my favorite male-male romances. I love this so much. I'm so glad that this should be kicking my ass to read Chainbreaker.
Now we're getting into my top 3 of 2016, and I feel like this is kind of going to be obvious. These 3 books mean a lot to me in many different ways. My number 3 is This Savage Song by Victoria Schwab. Finally another YA book by Victoria Schwab. I fell in love with her when I read The Archived. The first books I read by her were YA books. I was so excited to read another YA book by her, and this Savage Song was absolutely beautiful. I'm so excited to see where this is going, because it is going to be a duology. But I think it's gonna have even more value when the second book comes out, and it has a lot of value because it is a story that I feel like is very fitting to our current time, I guess to humanity in general, but especially in the current time, it's an important book. Yeah, I mean, just once again, such a wonderful, unique concept, characters amazing, world amazing. Victoria Schwab has done it again.
I still love The Savage Song a lot. One of my favorite books of all time. I think the concept for me is still what stands out about it the most. This concept of, you know, actual acts of violence breeding monsters, it still blows my mind. Like, absolutely blows my mind, and I just think it's so cool. I do love the characters, but I think this concept is what really gets me. I am having a little bit of a bittersweet taste in my mouth because I wasn't a big fan of Our Duck Duet, but at the same time I think that these books can stand very separately as well. So this is one of those cases where my maybe not so like amazing thoughts of the second book do not at all in any capacity influence my thoughts of the first book. Like, I still love the first book so much. Okay, now I'm really interested because I feel like it's gonna be something really obvious, but I just didn't think of it.
My number 2 is On the Other Side by Carrie Hope Fletcher. I definitely expected to love this book because I love Carrie Hope Fletcher and she is such a talented person. There's so much talent in her, it's unfair. But I never expected it to touch me as much as it did. I think what I loved about it so much was the fact that it was magical realism. I just kind of have more feelings with books that have a little bit of magic in them. I will never forget the moment at the end of it where I just like almost couldn't read the last page anymore because I was just in tears.
Yeah, I do still remember that.
This was an intense experience for me. I cannot wait to reread it. I just cannot wait to read more by Carrie Hope Fletcher. I mean, holy shit, this was just her debut novel.
On the Other Side, definitely another book that I want to reread. This is one of those books where I'm really not sure how I would feel about it today. I could still absolutely love it, but I could also feel not so good about it anymore. I definitely didn't like her second novel as much as I liked her debut, so that is definitely an interesting development. But oh my god, yes, like this moment that I talked about where I could barely even read the last page because I was just bawling. I still remember that moment. Like, I still remember just finishing and just hugging this book to my chest and just crying, bawling. So definitely this is a story that was also just really important to me, that just really made me feel so many feels. This really did just have a huge impact on me, and I do think that I would still really, really love it today. The fabulous elements in it are, I think some people think they might be too much. I thought they were beautiful and incredibly well done. And yeah, this makes me really, really want to reread this book. Holy shit. I forgot about all of these beautiful elements in there and how much I got emotionally invested in it. But oh yeah, I definitely want to reread it now.
If you haven't guessed it by now from just like watching my videos, but also from this space in my bookshelf missing. My number 1 is of course A Gathering of Shadows by V. Schwab, the second book in the Shades of Magic trilogy, and just a perfect book for me. I love every single page of this. This put me in the biggest, most horrible reading slump of my life because it was so good that I didn't know how to live on. Sometimes it seriously surprises me that it was in February that I read this book, because this book feels like it is part of my life. These characters feel like they are part of my life, and I cannot believe that this has only been a part of my life for such a short amount of time. Like, if I could marry a book, I would marry this book. A Darker Shade of Magic was my number 4 on last year's list. I didn't make it into my favorites of all time at that point. Well, it did this year. I mean, I also reread it, which also helped that, but definitely just seeing these two books together made me realize how amazing both of them are and how much I love them, and I absolutely cannot wait for the third book, the final book in this trilogy. It's gonna be heart-wrenching. I'm almost expecting next year's number 1 to be A Conjuring of Light. I almost think there's no possible way that there's anything that could be better than that book.
Oh, that was just lovely. You know, obviously I was expecting this, and obviously with every book that I read and with every reread that I do, I just love this series more. But still, just hearing myself talk about this at the end of 2016, that's so special. Oh, I love that. I'm emotional about it. I love that. I love that a lot. Just, this is one of those things where it's also good and great because Conjuring of Light was my number one of 2017, and I just love the series like even more than I did back then. Like, it just feels so good and wholesome as well. I'm so glad to end this on such a beautiful, wonderful, happy note. So yeah, this was me reacting to my favorites list of 2016. I want to know any of your thoughts, any surprises, any thoughts about the books that were on the list. And yeah, I make new videos every Wednesday and Sunday with occasional reviews on Friday. So click subscribe to never miss anything and hit the little bell so you get notified as well. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you soon. Bye!